Okay, we're going to do a InCommand demonstration. Matt is kind of do a little walkthrough here of the new InCommand display, setting up configuration, things like that.
Okay guys, I'd like to introduce you to InCommand. So what's the first obvious thing you see here with the new display? How many of us have Integras in the room? We got any AgLeader Integra Insight guys? Any John Deere display guys? A few of you? Any case display guys? Well, one of the limitations we've always had in the ag industry with precision farming displays, really doesn't matter what brand of display you have, but you really typically only have a display that can show one map, okay? Well, today as farmers, we're having to make what I call more actionable decisions. Craig, when do the best seed discounts come out?
November.
November? What oftentimes are we still doing in November though?
Lots of things.
Lots of things. Sometimes we're still in the combine cap. So today we're making seed decisions when we're still shelling corn. So we need to have a display that can do what? Help us make an actionable decision. We also need a display that can help us make more actionable decisions when we're planting corn. I'll show you a couple here in just a moment. So typically when we look at any precision farming display, we see one map. What AgLeader did, we've developed split screen. So what split screen allows us to do is we can view information side by side. Now another industry first with AgLeader, one of the things you guys may not realize, this is processed data. So normally with the precision ag display, to look at processed data, the data has to be extracted from the display, read into some type of software like SMS or FarmWorks, so you can look at your singulation maps, your harvest maps, all that information. Does that make sense? Okay? What we're going to start doing with the AgLeader displays, we're going to start showing you processed data in the background. Let me give you a quick demonstration. Okay, so we're going to start with screen 1. Up in the top left, you see I have where it says legend, this is my map information. I can hit this corn seed monitor button, you can notice you see current guidance maps and then previous maps. So one of the neat things that the display is going to allow you to do is you can load historical maps. Your planting data, your application data, your harvest data, any data that's captured in an AgLeader InCommand display can go back and be viewed. So let me give you an example. If we want to look at a previous map, here I have my seed monitor up with the swipe of a finger. So basically I swipe right here, I can look at my different planter performance maps. So I can look at a population map of that field, population percentage, singulation, which is very important. Population maps are great. Population shows us if our planter maintained the desired population, but a population map doesn't tell us what? How well we planted the population. So that's what singulation does. Shows us how well or how efficient our planter is. We can look at our spacing quality maps. I can come down here. I can look at my variety maps. I can look at my rate maps. I can look at my coverage maps. So this gives you an example where I can pull up that historical data. Now, where this is going to become important, let me pull up the split screen and give you an example of how this could be important. So I'm going to select a seed monitor. I'm going to look at a singulation map, and I'm going to compare that to a hybrid map. And I start to come in here while I'm planting corn. Now understand, these aren't the best looking maps because they're created with the simulator. But when I'm looking at this and I do a side-by-side visual, I can start to see that my hybrid A is not singulating as well as hybrid B. So hybrid A and B were planted at the exact same time on the planter. Hybrid A is on the left, hybrid B is on the right. Hybrid A is not singulating as well as hybrid B. What are some actionable decisions that I can make while I'm in that field with hybrid A? What could I do to make him plant better? Maybe change my vacuum pressure on that side of the planter. Maybe I need to make an adjustment on my meter. Maybe my finger meter just can't handle that seed size. If I'm lucky, maybe I can get a hold of my seed guy and do what? Maybe I can get some different seed size for the next field I have to go plant. Historically, when did we know this was an issue? After the corn came up or after we processed our data. So typically, when do you look at your planting data? After you got done planting your entire season. So wouldn't it be nice to be able to have some of this information right there at your fingertips before you go plant all of your other fields. So this is what AgLeader is trying to do, guys. What we're trying to do is we're trying to give you guys that easy button for data management. A lot of us don't do data management because it's time consuming, or it's so many steps involved to do it. If you can have it right at your fingertips and make some easy decisions on it, wouldn't that be better than waiting 6 months to look at your data? We'd probably start to do more with it. So that's what AgLeader wanted to do with their new split screen. Now another thing that we're going to be able to do, for sake of time I'm not going to show you, we can do it on break. What I really like is, and I got to use InCommand during harvest this year because I work at AgLeader and I got a hold of one earlier than everybody else did. I got to use InCommand to do the harvest split screen. So I could pull up my yield map. When I pulled up my right split screen, what do you think are some other maps I'm looking at?
Your planning map?
Planting maps, my nitrogen maps. I'm starting to look, and while I'm in the combine, I'm starting to do a lot of side-by-side visualizations, and I'm starting to make management decisions already for next year. And before, typically I do my management decisions when? In the middle of winter. There's a lot of things that have left my mind since then. When I'm in the combine right then, it's nice. I make some management decisions, and you know what else you have on the display? You have a nice notes section that you can click on and type in a few notes. It's a few pointers that you want to try to implement next season. So, okay. All right, guys. Couple things I want to show you. We're going to start with the basics. I showed you the most important thing. I want to start with the home screen. Actually, let's flip displays around. Let's use my display if we could.
Okay, just skip.
Yep. Grab mine. Just unplug it. I'm changing displays because I'm going to show you some new firmware that's going to be released. The guys at Prairieland don't have the firmware that I have. I can't give it to them. Okay. So InCommand 1200 is booting up. First thing you're going to notice, we moved to an app-style interface. Whenever we developed the InCommand display over the last couple of years, we surveyed a lot of growers, and actually my product manager spent a lot of time in Illinois asking growers questions, what they want to display, what would make it easier. One of the biggest things my uncle pointed out, he said, I want my display like my iPad. All I have to do, I can't run my PC, but if I want to go look at something in my iPad, I just push the picture and I'm there. So we developed the app-style interface. What's nice about this, if I want to go plant today, I just push the planting button. I don't have to walk through about 10 different screens to get to the planting just so I can go plant corn. So the app-style interface is going to make it easier for you, for your operators, for my uncle, a lot of people. The next thing we've done, we've cleaned the display up a little bit in the fact that I want to talk about building a configuration. So one of the things that AgLeader is able to do, and one of our advantages is we can move the AgLeader display across all the different machinery you have in your operation. So it's an investment that you can spread across a lot of different machines. One of the challenges is, though, we need to build a configuration for each machine. So I have a planting configuration, I have a spraying configuration, and maybe I have a harvest configuration. It's really easy to build a configuration. I just press on the plus and I pick what operation I want to do today. So if I want to build a planting configuration, I click on planting. I select my vehicle. Now chances are you may use the same tractor for multiple applications. If you do, you've probably already got it loaded. So I'm going to use my 8400 today, John Deere. I'm going to arrow over. I look in here and I select my implement. You can see I've got a lot of planters because I build these all the time. But I just bought a new planter. So I don't have it in here. I'm going to build a new planter. All I do is I hit the plus, and we're going to name a planter today. So say we do a John Deere. What's a good John Deere planter in this area, Blake? 1770?
1770 NT.
Okay. I'm from Southern Illinois. We run blue planters down there. So I'm going to select if I have rear drawbar or if I'm a lift arms. Typically 1770s are a 2-point lift. That's important because the display then knows how that planter pivots and rotates and folds and everything. That way we get your mapping correct. I measure my seed drop to the tongue. Let's say it's 20 feet, I'm guessing. Seed rate controller. So is my planter ground drive? If it is, I just arrow to the next screen. If it's variable rate, I hit the plus. All I do is I select seed command, hydraulic seed rate control. John Deere's typically have 2 drives on them, so I select 2, hit the green check. Planter monitor, all I do is I select, I want to do seed monitor module, so that gives it the advanced seed monitoring, where I have the row by row simulation that Blake's going to show you here in a little bit. Just a straight corn planter, so I don't have any split rows, but I do want to do clutches. I do have down pressure on my planter, so I click on the down pressure. Say I have a 12 row planter. I have 12 implement sections, so however many clutches you have on your planter, arrow over. I'm going to plant 2 varieties at a time. Select that. And guys, my configuration is built. So now whenever I come into my display, you'll see that I have my 1772 because I had already built the 1770 NT before. Now all I do, whenever I go into my planting window, you'll notice that I just hit the drop down box and I look at all my different planters and I just select the planter that I want to use today. Now one of the other neat things that the AgLeader displays do, I heard one of you guys say ISO doesn't work. ISO's always has challenges, I'll agree with that, but so can CAN bus. So what CAN bus is, that's the communication protocol between the display and the planter with AgLeader. Well, sometimes we plug everything in, but it still doesn't work. Have we ever had that problem? What AgLeader does, guys, we tell you what's not working. So you see these little stop signs on the modules. So say we've got several modules communicating, but there's one not communicating. It's going to show you what module's not communicating. And what's the best course of action? I would go back here and just see if it's all plugged in. Sometimes things get unplugged. Okay. That's how easy it is to load a configuration. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm putting in demo mode. That's a button you guys will never have to push. Now let's show you what the InCommand looks like in the field. All right. So we're in demo mode. A couple things about the display. Notice we're running the corn planter right now. It's showing our population. We're just running a ground drive planter, so we don't have any seed rate. We just take off when we plant corn. But one of the things that the display is doing, notice that it's building spatial data in the background. So if I click on the screen, I have a couple options. You see that little button down in the middle? It says north. This is that bird's eye view. The InCommand display has a glass touch screen in it, a lot like an iPad would now, so you have all the new swipe gestures, how you can pinch and zoom and move your finger around to do things on the display. So it's really easy to manipulate the views and look at your data. Here we're looking at that bird's eye view, and we're looking at our population percentage. I can toggle around. I'm looking at my population map as the planter's running. Here I'm looking at a singulation map. We're looking at row by row data. So that's another thing that the InCommand has the power to do. If I zoom all the way in, this is a 12 row planter, and notice I have 12 rows showing of spatial data. So this is a singulation map. Normally I wouldn't be able to look at this map till when? Until I read my data into the computer. Okay, I'm going to go back to the view. I like that 3D view. To set a guidance line is really easy. All I do is I press the little directional button. I can create a new pattern. I just want to drive straight. The monitor automatically defaults the guidance width to your planter width. So it's 30 feet because I have a 12 row planter. I can set a traditional A-B line, set A, drive to the field, set B. I like to use headings, so I'm just going to set a due north heading. Now I have a guidance line. If you have auto steer, with the push of your foot, your auto steer engages with the display, and off you go, right down your line. To disengage the steering, you just grab a hold of the steering wheel, turn the tractor around again with the push of your foot, it engages on that line, and down you go for another perfectly straight pass. Okay, a couple other things that you can do in the display that I feel are important, especially for growers who need to make good management decisions. Being able to mark what I call obstacles in the field. Maybe it's a tile riser, maybe it's a telephone pole. Maybe it's a sinkhole. You guys, I'm from Southern Illinois, I have sinkholes. Those type of things you may need to mark. That data is then saved in the display, and if you create a mark in the display, next time you load that field and you're coming up down this guidance line, there's a tile riser down there, what do you think it's going to show you out on your horizon? It's going to keep getting closer and closer to you. And it's going to start to count off how far that tile riser is, so you know when I need to swerve out to miss it. That would be important, especially when combine or at night. Okay? All right. Another thing that we need to be able to do in the display is create field boundaries. So as you guys integrate into precision farming equipment, the most important thing that any of us can do, and Mandy, what's probably the most important thing you deal with data?
What do you mean?
Boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when you don't have boundaries?
It's tough to figure out where it's supposed to go.
Exactly. So the boundary serves as a filing cabinet, guys. It's a filing cabinet for your data. With that boundary comes a name. With that name comes where your data goes. So the data will automatically organize, or the display will automatically organize your data into the field it belongs based on a boundary. You guys can use this feature to make boundaries on the go. I've always suggested making them when you're planting corn. That's usually the best time to make a boundary, and it'll offset, the boundary will be lined right there where your last row unit goes. The other neat thing that you guys can do now, does any of us have track tractors? A few of us? What's one of the challenges when you plant with a track tractor?
Keep your berms out of your inrows.
When you burn them end rows, wouldn't it be nice to be able to plant your end rows last?
Maybe.
It's possible. So I have a lot of track tractor guys now that use this new feature called Enable Headlands. If we have good boundaries and we have row shutoffs on our planter, the display will go in and it allows us to plant. See this area in green? It's going to plant that worked area first. Go ahead.
Right, maybe you just answered it. The worked area, can the guy in the cultivator make a boundary?
Mm-hmm. And he
Okay.
could share it to this guy.
That was my problem.
Yep, he can share it to this guy. This is another way, if you have two planters pulling the field at the same time, and they both have row clutches, and you want them to share the row clutches, this is another way to share those row clutches between those two tractors. Cultivator to tractor could do it as well. I can plant all my worked area, the middle part of the field, and then I want to come plant my end rows last, and it's going to allow your row clutches to work. So that's nice for track tractor guys, because you don't want to, because they burn so bad when you turn. Strip till guys, this is another important thing. A lot of guys don't want to turn on their fertilizer strips. They can put their fertilizer in on their end rows last. Okay, I'm running out of time for my demonstration. Another neat feature is topography. If you have an AgLeader display and you have an RTK, we all know what RTK is? I'm not having to tell everybody what RTK is anymore. We've been around long enough, we know what that is. If you have an AgLeader display in RTK, while you're planting corn, you can create a topography map. This is very valuable data. One of the most valuable bits of data you can look at is doing a yield to topography comparison. Now, I'm from Southern Illinois. We do our variable rate planning based on topography. So I'm down around Carbondale. If anybody's ever been down there, what do I have a lot of? Up and down all around. A lot of times I pull up my topography map, I start to get onto those higher spots in the fields. What do you think I do to my rate? A couple pushes of a button, I knock that rate back just a little bit. Okay, let's move to split screen. So when I'm planting corn, let me show you what split screen is going to look like. So over on the left, I've got my singulation map, but say I want to look at my hybrid maps over here on the right. I'm going to pull up my varieties. Now this is going to be a really nice feature because while I'm doing the side-by-side split screen, I can start to, on real time, I can see how my hybrids are singulating against each other. Maybe I have hydraulic down pressure on my planter. I can see how my down pressure is impacting singulation. Basically, I can start to do a lot of side visualizations to compare my singulation. The other thing I can do, maybe I put some high rate nitrogen strips out there. Okay? Maybe I want to go and I want to manually bump up my population in some of those areas. I can pull up that prior generation application map. I know right where those areas are. What can I do to my seed rate? Click the button, I can put them right where I want them. So the display is going to give you guys the ability to make a lot of actionable decisions. Now, this is the feature that the Prairieland guys want. For those of you that have been around AgLeader, you know that we offer advanced seed monitoring. What advanced seed monitoring is, not only does our planter monitor tell you what your population is you're planting, but it tells you how well you're planting that population. So let me quiz you. If I'm trying to plant 34,000 seeds per acre, am I going to have a better yield at 100% singulation or at 90% singulation? 100% singulation. The monitor is going to tell us how we're planting that population. So what we're able to do, and this is another what I call industry first in a display, we have our run screens so we can keep an eye on our guidance, we can keep an eye on our maps, we can keep an eye on the control of our planter, but then we can also keep an eye on our planter performance. With the prior generation AgLeader displays and even our competition, what do you think you have to do? You have to pick one or the other you want to look at. With AgLeader, if I wanted to look at my advanced seed monitoring in the past, I had to click on that button, and I couldn't see any of my guidance information until now. So what I'm looking at over here is I'm looking at how well my planter's running. We can monitor singulation and planter performance as a whole across the entire planter, or we can take it down to an individual row. Now, what's another big feature you think farmers in Illinois asked us to put into this display? Does any of us have cameras on our machines? Wouldn't it be nice to still be able to see all your guidance information and your cameras? AgLeader built that into the display as well. So with the push of a button, you're now going to be able to split screen your camera information and your run screens. There's one other screen that we're going to be able to split screen. That's the isobus screens. So if you are running it, like say you've got a new John Deere planter and it's all isobus, and you have to run that planter with all John Deere's isobus modules, basically what's going to happen, the John Deere 2630 screen is going to appear right here on the AgLeader display, and then the AgLeader run screen is going to be over on the left. Now the AgLeader run screen is what's actually running those ISO modules. It's telling the John Deere modules what to do, how to plant, but it's nice to keep an eye on those modules to make sure they're working properly. You can split screen both the John Deere and the AgLeader screen side by side. So what that does is, one of the most valuable pieces of real estate is that right window over in the cab so you can see out it. We can eliminate 2, 3, 4 displays down to 1 again with AgLeader. Okay, any questions? I'm going to hand it over. All righty, I'll have the display over here on break. If anybody wants to come up and see it, give me a holler.